This is TWiT.
Here's a wild story. So last week on Security Now, Steve said, if you have your LastPass Vault, which you do if you download it, there is stuff you can see in there about, things you might want to know about what version and what PBKDF2 iterations, etc. It's in an XML file, and he called on his audience, somebody write an XML file interpreter so we can have a program people can use for this. One of our listeners had ChatGPT write it in Microsoft's PowerShell scripting language, and then gave it to Steve. They worked on a slightly modified. Steve said this is the best one. We had a number of them from people who are very accomplished programmers who wrote it from scratch who were probably pissed off.
Wow.
But the PowerShell script, with a couple of exceptions where it was off, it was wrong, or it didn't know how to do something, was actually it was a starting point.
Okay.
So meanwhile,
here's the techno panic question.
Yeah.
Is this going to eliminate some jobs down the road for people, that are trying to work at Google and help figure out this whole search engine algorithm? Or
initially it makes a lot of jobs to start as they freak out.
Well, I think you just have to learn you have to learn how to adapt to this. So as a journalist, even being able to look stuff up in Google is both a blessing and a curse, because you don't have to come to me for regular facts and what happened anymore. Now you have to come to me as a journalist for an understanding of trade-offs or whatever else, right? You have to come deliver more. So I think people just have to get smarter. This will take away some parts of their job, but that just gives you room to grow.
You add value.
Whether it's AI results or Google results, you still need to freaking verify all the sources.
So humans add value. And I think that's good. I mean, if I were an illustrator, I might worry a little bit about Midjourney and Stable Diffusion.
Well, photographers, as a photographer, you're screwed, Ant. We'll just put it that way. But
I don't feel that way.
I wrote a post about this a week or so ago where I think that as a teacher, we're going to end up teaching the skill of prompt writing.
Yes. Yeah. And that
in
makes
a sense, that's the new programming, right?
Yeah.
Your programming is telling the machine what you want it to do in a very specific way. Writing a prompt will be a way to tell the machine what you want in a way. So on the rundown 52, I have the New York school system has blocked ChatGPT, which is just short-sighted and stupid, because it's to your question, Ant, it should be saying, well, what new skills are opened up by this? One smart teacher I saw said that what he would do, rather than trying to, I saw another school district in Florida say, here's all the ways to stop students from cheating and make sure they're writing the stuff. Another way is to say to the student, go ask ChatGPT the question, now come back and fact check it.
Yeah.
Now come back and write a critique of it. Now come back and improve it.
There's some real
Where did it go wrong? Where did it get right?
Yeah.
How can we optimize this? I totally agree.
That's how schools have dealt with Wikipedia historically as well, right?
Wait, now I want to go ask my child how ChatGPT is being handled in school.
I'd be very curious.
Okay, good. While you're
and
doing
get a waffle while you're doing it.
Yeah,
Stacey, we know your tricks.
We know what's up.
We get it.
If she's chewing when she comes back, From Jason Howell, our producer, this story, he used to work at CNET. This is answer to your question. I would worry, Ant, if I was a writer at CNET. CNET is quietly publishing entire articles generated by AI. They started doing this in November. Articles, this is from The Byte. The articles under the unassuming appellation of CNET money staff.
I wonder if that's, and I don't mean to sound totally ignorant on this, but maybe this is like an additional product. It's just like,
they don't.
Here's the AI. This is what the AI did for your entertainment.
They don't say anything. They just say
Reuters and the AP have been using it for years now
for sports,
to do sports and finance.
Financial, yeah.
Do
you think so? That's interesting. My child, by the way, has not dealt with ChatGPT at all, so that was a bust. Okay.
But how's the waffle?
I didn't get a waffle.
You got a
didn't
cookie?
have enough time to get it. No, I'm not hungry yet. It's still early.
Oh, good.
I've got to save room for my dinner. now I'm distracted.
Sorry.
CNET is revealing, I guess, that the articles are generated by automation in some cases. And it was things like, what are NSF fees and why do banks charge them? Should you break a CD early for better rate? And you'll see in the search results, this article is generated using automated technology and thoroughly edited and fact-checked by an editor on our editorial staff.
Okay, good. All right, fine.
So that's cool. Did you see the company that did for online therapy was sending people to GPT chat? And this is, so I think if an AI is going to do something, I do think we still need to distinguish right now between an AI writing something or offering you something than a person. In some ways it might be better, right?
Well, Stacey, what was interesting about that story was that people liked the ChatGPT responses until they found out it was a computer, and then they disliked them.
Freaky.
B, the academics I know were appalled because it was a company doing it. There was no IRE, not IRE. What do you
IRB?
IRB,
Internal Review Board.
People didn't know this was being done to them, and this was about their mental health. But Ant, you want to get worried? Look at line 55 and see how, and Leo especially, since he's a professional voice. That's going
Is this the 3-second thing?
We talked a little bit about this too. vall-e, which is weirdly like wall-e. These are language models trained with 3 words to generate samples that sound like you. So here is, let me give you an example. This is from the Microsoft demo on GitHub. The speaker prompt, and then we'll give you the machine version of it, and then the final version. Here's the speaker prompt.
He descended the ladder and found himself soon upon firm rock.
Okay.
They moved thereafter cautiously about the hut, groping before and about them to find something to show that Warrington had fulfilled his mission.
So they only had 3 seconds of the speaker.
He descended the ladder and found himself soon upon firm rock.
Unrelated to the language, sentence they're going to do. The ground truth. Now, baseline.
They moved thereafter cautiously about the hut, groping before.
That's the machine voice of it.
And about them to find something.
Here's the final synthesized vall-e version, taking the human speaker and applying it to the baseline. We've seen this before. They call the human speaker prompt the prosody. And this is what vall-e comes up with.
They moved thereafter cautiously about the hut, groping before and about them to find something to show that Warrington had fulfilled his mission.
It's okay.
Yeah, Amazon has Polly, and it's pretty good.
Says Mr. Voice. It's okay.
Well,
anytime someone takes, like, I think I told y'all that I had a friend of mine who, this was years ago, ran all of my writing through basically a neural net and then created something that wrote like I did. And it was like ChatGPT.
Was it your voice?
It was very accurate to my voice.
Yeah.
But I also found it incredibly creepy.
Right.
And I told him, I was like,
is that the uncanny valley creepy? Like
what? Right.
It's close but no cigar. Like,
well, I took it. No, it wasn't uncanny valley. It felt like a violation of that I was so easily. I mean, it was kind of like insulting, I guess. Like I was so easily replicated by it.
If I were in the middle of my career, I would be worried, but I'm not. Thank God.
Well,
and so I'm actually welcoming my new overlord.
I was worried about deception. Like, I mean, it's kind of like a deep fake problem.
When Adobe had this back during I believe it was back in the Obama administration with their AI tools inside of Adobe Audition, they put up an example of him speaking.
I remember that
wasn't him speaking.
Yeah.
And of course that raised a lot of concerns of getting that product in the wrong hands to issue some pretty scary commands out there that could cause problems.
Well, I think we have to adjust how we determine the veracity of what we're seeing, reading. We already know about reading, right? And hearing. And we just, there have been people putting up fake Photoshops of me for years. I mean, it's just, that's always been doable. And you just have to tune your spidey sense. Here's an example of speaker emotion maintenance from vall-e. So they're going to get a single sentence. We have to reduce the number of plastic bags. They got the speaker to deliver it in a variety of emotional states. This is angry.
Her face was against his breast.
Notice, by the way, that's not the same prompt. It's just his prosody. Now, vall-e, applying that to the generated sentence.
We have to reduce the number of plastic bags.
Here's Sleepy.
Tuck down and dig in.
Notice the whole key to this is just a parlor trick. Is how these are 3-second snippets, right?
We have to reduce the number of plastic bags.
Yeah, that's
not bad.
terrible.
That does not work.
No, amused.
So
That's what Carnegie did.
Let me do it again.
That's what Carnegie did. We have to reduce the number of plastic bags.
That's terrible.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's bad.
All right.
It is terrible because I was worried about like taking 3 seconds of my voice, generating something, and then talking to like my Madam A or my Google to get access to my calendar, for example.
This is
That would be
this
kind of
is
an
a
interesting-
parlor
Oh,
trick.
that's interesting.
But I got to tell you, there is better work being done. In fact, Apple this week announced AI narrated audiobooks. And this is
caused much discussion in the Mastodon.
Yeah,
Oh, my.
very interesting because the idea is there are a lot of books that will never have an audio version because it's too expensive. The publisher, they're out of date, whatever. So Apple now is selling, I've listened to a few of them, audio books that are, in fact, they even pitch authors. Look, you can't afford a professional narrator. Don't worry. You can choose a voice and try it out. The voices are quite good. There are voices for fiction and nonfiction.
Do you have an example you can play for us?
I do. In fact, I'll play what Apple, offers you, and then I can play a sample of an actual book if you want to hear it. Well, let me see. Maybe I'll have to do that. If you search on Apple Books is just like Audible. In fact, most of the books are from Audible.
Can I use Apple Books without Apple?
Yeah, I bet. Books.apple.com. You have to have a credit card. Oh, can you listen to them without an iPhone is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Probably not. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I wonder if you have to be an Apple ecosystem, at least use an Apple ID.
Yeah, I have to search. Let me, how did I do this? I did it yesterday on MacBreak Weekly. Let me think how I get to, because I'm on a Linux machine. Because you can search, when you go to Apple Books, you can say, I want an AI narrator and search for it. But I'll tell you what, I'll play it from my iPhone because I have some. And it's quite good. We found a book about lumberjacks, which, in all likelihood...
A romance, perhaps?
Well, I thought it might be, but in fact, it's not. It's... although there are quite a few lumberjack romance novels for some reason.
Who would have thought?
But in this case, it was actually something more up your alley, a history of the lumberjack.
Well, hell.
Oh, my God. Okay, what a romance featuring lumberjacks is way better than a history of the lumberjacks.
Yes.
My goodness.
Says Stacey, who moved up to lumberjack territory.
Even I would agree with you.
But, I mean, the way y'all were talking about it, like, it's a surprise their romance is featuring lumberjacks. I mean, my God, the brawny paper towel guy, y'all.
I'm guessing there isn't a brownie paper towel guy romance thing. But let me, here's one, I don't know what this is. This is a romance, Shelter from the Storm. This is narrated by Apple Books, which means by an AI.
Stories that lift me up and make me smile. And that's why I created Port Provident, a town for all of us to visit for a sweet escape. I'd like to invite you to join that reader community today. Just go to...
So it's not...
I can still tell it's fakey, yeah.
But it's certainly listenable, right?
It is listenable. It's kind of like, when you get the books that are off IP, like the crappy versions of books that are old.
Well, here's the lumberjack.
There's Libra.
Here's the lumberjack.
Libra.
You want to hear? You want to hear some lumberjack history?
And more recently, lumberjacks in eastern Canada, loggers in British Columbia. Of the three interwoven ages of eastern Canadian logging, the first belonged to the bearded square timbermen, who hewed great bulks of white and red pine and drove them in huge rafts down the rivers to Quebec City.
I think that's as good as any narrator's going to do with that content, to be honest with you.
Are they in British Columbia or are they in Quebec City?
I didn't write the book. I don't know. There's a lot of romance novels,
right, Stacey?
How about Sleigh Bells? Here's one: Sleigh Bells on Bread Loaf Mountain. Let's listen to that.
Full of designer labels and, along with them, the kid gloves necessary to handle the drama queens in her life.
Yeah, see, that voice I don't like as well. There's 4 different voices, 2 for fiction, 2 for non-fiction.
Can you pick them as a reader or
no, the author picks them. How about a Capon Valley Sampler by Willard Wiltz?
To rely on. Mr. Cauty was right. Some of these pieces depend heavily on casual talks I had with him and with neighbors.
It is a little mechanical.
Robotic.
But a lot better than the old
Ben
ones.
Stein.
Yeah, it's like Ben
the other
Stein
thing
reading.
I don't know. I laughed at Ben Stein. Come on.
Bueller.
I was on the board of what is now Learning Ally, was recording for the blind and dyslexic. And
well, imagine for that.
Was too.
This
is huge,
critical, right? It's huge, and they've been using electronic voices for quite some time. So to improve,
if you're blind, you're kind of used to that. But this will make it much better, I think.
But as somebody reminded me, volunteers from the beginnings of it was World War I. Would go in and record the books.
Yeah,
a lot of the value, especially for textbook material, is description.
Yes,
it's describing the photo, describing the chart, explaining it credibly, which a machine
could do that. No, I think a machine could do a pretty credible description of a photograph. Yeah,
I don't know, because they're going to miss nuance. Like, let's say you have a picture of like an older woman and a younger person together bent over a counter.
We have a sponsor. We had a sponsor for a long time that was designed for making websites accessible, and one of the things they did was image recognition and give you a simple description of that image, which for the most part, my experience was pretty good. And then you could add to it. And you're right. There are times, human nuance is going to, but the point is humans are expensive. And if you had, for instance, the Project Gutenberg list of open source books, which now include the entire works of Sherlock Holmes, and nobody has ever narrated those, better to have a good AI narrator than none at all.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Your business is unique, so your IT, audit, and cybersecurity solutions should be too. ACI Learning customizes training bundles tailored for your business. ACI Learning, transforming the way companies train to fuel the modern workforce. Visit acilearning.com and let ACI power up your IT team.